group. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about business today. The topic is massive, so we've only chosen 2 areas of business just to discuss, and it's very high level, but very simple to understand. I think we just want to try and get a message across to entrepreneurs as to what risks there are in business and how to try and mitigate against some of them. As I said, the topic is massive, and there are a lot of other areas that you may need to look at as well, and we can go through those on a more one-on-one basis. So I think just to kick off with this, I want to quickly show you a little intro video to the group. Work. So, guys, yeah, effectively, Quattro is not one company, it's a group of companies. Each one of the companies has its own licenses, its own advisors, and its own specialists, handling a different aspect of every financial service that a normal business owner or entrepreneur would need to engage with. We have things from finance and legal, where we look at BI for business. So this really is an in-depth dive into your finances, but more than that, an interpretation of the financials of your business. And we collate data. So we bring data from machines, staff and attendance, staff time and attendance, through to stock, shifts, the whole lot. And we bring all this data through and give you simple diagrammatical images that you can interpret to see whether your business is doing well or if it's doing poorly. And through just simple clicks, be able to see what is going on in the business. So as an example, if your profits are up and you want to know how, you can click on it, takes you through to each one of your distribution centers or one of your branches, through to each salesperson or divisional director, salesperson to product, and product to supplier, the whole way through, just by simple clicks. So there's no pivot tables and going and trying to read 5 or 6 different sets of financials to interpret stuff. So very powerful intelligence there. On the legal side, we do all the legal and statutory work for businesses. That's everything from compiling your simple memorandum of incorporation, shareholder agreements, buy and sell agreements, right the way through to mergers, acquisitions, listing of businesses, the delisting of a business, the sale of a business, exit strategies, through to litigious things as well, buying commercial properties, selling them, agreements, leases, all the bits and pieces. There's a huge range of legal services we offer. Quattro Assure does short-term insurance. So this is insuring things you can see that are tangible, your car, your cell phone, your business, and the likes. Quattro Med does medical aid. Quattro Wills and Estates obviously does wills and estates. Quattro Life, we do financial planning and strategy. So here we look at an individual or an individual business owner, and we design a strategy for that business or business owner or the family with regards to death, disability, dread disease, their retirement, how the business will succeed when the person dies, how it continues on disability. So in here, what we call ourselves as strategists, we collate all the information for you. We bring it all together under a microscope. Bless you. COVID. Sorry. Do you want to spread those germs elsewhere? Get all the information together, and then we hand you over to the specialists in each area that you might need to speak to make sure that you're well looked after. Investment brokers, here we do pension and provident fund administration. So if your company has a fund, pension or provident fund, we look at existing funds and see whether the costs are actually indicative of the market. We make sure that the benefits are actually the right benefits for you, your company, your staff. And then we also look to see what the replacement ratio is of your employees at their retirement date. So a guy earns 10,000 Rand a month today. When he retires, how close will he be to earning the equivalent of 10,000 Rand when he retires? And based on a whole lot of analytics we do in the background, we're able to see this person's going to retire on 25 or 26% of their final salary. And we've got a little red light there saying here's a problem. And then in order to fix it, we either change the fund costings in order to get a better increase, reduce costs to make the benefits better for them at retirement, or increase contributions, or change investment strategy. But something needs to change in order to make the outcome beneficial for that person. On our fund management side, we've got two companies, Quattro Fund Managers and Foundation Fund Managers. Here we run unit trust funds for people. So people who want to invest money and don't quite understand how to invest money, there's over 2,000 unit trusts in the market. How do you choose which one? How do you choose Allan Gray versus Coronation or Investec? We actually do all of that for you in-house. So we actively manage your investments. And then on Foundation Fund Manager side, we do foreign exchange. People who either import and export and need to use foreign currencies for their business, or just the general person who would like to diversify and invest money overseas, dollars, pounds, euro, whatever you want. We open up an account for you. It's based in Switzerland called Swiss Quote. You might see them advertised on the Formula One and on the MotoGPs and stuff. Open up an account for you. We open it here for you in Switzerland. It holds all your multiple currencies in one account. And it holds your share portfolio. So you can say, right, my money's left the country. It's in cash. I don't know what to do with it. We'll then invest it in Microsoft, Amazon, whatever type of shares are good for you to buy in at that time. And we actively manage that as well. We also have clients that want to choose a particular share. They'll say, I want to buy Tesla. Even if it's against our advice, you're still able to buy that share. We'll tell you whether we think it's overvalued or not. But at the end of the day, we can do transactional as well as advice. And then Vara is our voiceless anonymous reporting app designed for businesses, schools, and also for sports. Effectively, it started off as a child protection app where children are able to report anonymously about being bullied, raped, whatever it might be in their life, abused by a parent or a family member, or inappropriate behavior from a student. It's developed into a corporate one as well, where there's whistleblowing. So you're able to report about transgressions in your organization and get an understanding on that, be it fraud, theft, sexual harassment, racism, or just like what we had the one year was our Christmas party. Some staff were grumbling about the Christmas party. We found out that some of our staff felt that the food was not halal enough, and we didn't know that. And they told us through the anonymous reporting app. So we were able to have a great Christmas party just by finding out what the staff were thinking, and they were able to still remain totally anonymous and not feel any sort of retribution. And then the financial room is where we do all our data analytics. So here we look at your business, as I said, taking into account your BI products, accounting, normal tax, accounting, structure of different companies and the likes. So that's really the group in summary. What's nice about dealing with Quattro is that you're not dealing with a jack of all trades and a master of none. So think of it like a GP. Your GP knows quite a bit about your body. He knows where your heart and where your appendix is. But when it comes to an operation, they're not taking your heart and doing a bypass or removing your appendix. They'll refer you to a specialist. It's kind of like what we are. We have generalists who gather information and then hand over to the specialists. We fit in between your accountant, your attorney, and your financial plan. What we have found in business is that so many people do things in isolation. So you've got a business, you go to your attorney, he drafts a whole bunch of legal stuff and it's legally binding and it's fine. You tick the box. Then your accountant's doing all your finances and they're doing their stuff well. So you tick that box. Then you go see a financial advisor and they do your personal policies and everything else and you tick that box and you think you're all rosy. The problem is when you die, get disabled, retire, or have a fight with your business partner, suddenly all of these things come together and there's conflict between them. And this is what we want to avoid for you before something goes wrong. And because we have legal, accounting, and financial strategy all under one roof, we're able to bring this into our house, look at everything and watch how these cards unfold in each event in your life, be it your retirement, resignation, retrenchment, death, disability, whatever it might be. So you're dealing with specialists as opposed to just this one jack of all trades, master of none. And it goes even further. You've got an advisor maybe who sells you your life insurance, they do your short-term insurance, and they do your medical aid, and they do your retirement savings. They're doing it all poorly. It's physically impossible to do your medical aid, your life cover, your disability, your dread disease, your retirement, and your medical aid all at the same time. There's too many products, too many changes. I think we have like 74 variations of medical aid structure just within our one organization. 74. Then I've still got all the other products to try and remember as well. So if you've got that, you're making a grave error. You need to look at it. All right, our advice philosophy, very simply, our financial planning strategy is it's uniquely yours. We don't have this cookie cutter approach. Everything we do is designed for you, your business, and your family. And we review that on an annual basis to make sure that we're in touch with your needs and the changing lifestyle needs going forward. As an example, 5 years ago, my need for my child's education provision was big. 5 years later, it's got smaller because they're closer to finishing school. My need for my wife, if I died, was bigger 10 years ago than it is today because she had longer to live. So the change in your financial plan is very, very, very fluid, and you need to make sure you're not wasting 1 cent of your money. Every cent you can save, you've got to put into your retirement so you can have that objective met. Personal engagement. We embrace technology. Very important. If there's technology out there that can assist you to achieve your goals, we use that. Financial strategists, very, very important. Kind of think of us as like an architect. We've got a financial plan. We design the house, okay? And then we can use bricks, tiles, or plasterboard, or whatever you want to build it. But we actually design the house. We design the structure for you, for your business, and for yourself. And then the end result is that you're able to make well-informed decisions as to how to approach every single thing going forward. We also help with mentorship. So if you're a business owner and you're challenged with something and you're a client of ours, that's just a value add. You're welcome to give us a shout, come sit with us, explain where you are in your life, explain the challenge you've got, and we'll try and help you solve for that. We consult with about 30 to 40 businesses a week. So this we've been doing for 23 years. We know our mistakes we've made in business, and we also know what other people's mistakes have been. So we've got a great repertoire of mistakes that people have made and how to avert them. So it's not just something we learned from a book, it's from practical application as well. All right, what we're going to look at today is just business protection plans, the types of products you can use, things to be careful of, and then implementation of the correct structure. Due to time, we're going to be just looking at a couple of main areas. I want to just explain to you our philosophy and how to find the right people for the right jobs. So we've got this little matrix that we do. So if you've got good math skills and you are good at problem solving, then we'll stick you in as an engineer. If you've got problem solving skills and people skills, then we'll probably put you into management. If you've got people skills and a drinking problem, then you'll go into the sales department. If you've got a drinking problem and you're heartless, then we'll stick you in as an attorney. And then if you OCD with math skills and OCD with heartless, if you fall under heartless, you go into human resources. And with math skills and OCD, you'll go into our accounting firm. So if there are any career prospects you guys are looking for, or anyone, we are looking for new staff. Okay. All right. So just to kick off with, I think what's important to understand is that business and personal financial planning are actually one and the same. Unfortunately, most people do personal financial planning only. Your financial advisor sees you and sells you a whole lot of personal insurance policies and neglects your business completely. And this is the biggest failure that we find. And the reason being is that if you understand financial planning, it's building your financial plan off what you've accumulated. If you've got a business that actually has value, how do you use this business in order to achieve your financial objectives? There's no use paying a heap of insurance policies the whole of your life if you've actually got the wealth already. So to give you an example, Bill Gates, when he started out in life, he probably bought his first house and bonded it, in his early days. Got married, maybe took some life cover for him and his wife. Then he struck his first deal with IBM or whatever it was in those days. And suddenly he started to become wealthy. He paid off his bond, saved up some cash, and his cash that he had was actually sufficient that when he died, he didn't need to have life insurance because the cash was enough for his wife to live off. Today, he's a gazillionaire and he has no need for insurance. I don't believe Bill Gates actually has a life policy with 10 million life cover on for his wife, okay? And we're not Bill Gateses by any means, but we're on a journey of growth and wealth accumulation. Your needs, just as an example, let's say you need 10 million Rand when you die for your spouse. If you've got 3 million of your own in a business and you die, and there's an agreement in place where this business can be sold for 3 million on death, guaranteed, it means 3 million comes into your estate. You are now only short 7. So you'll use an insurance policy to cover the gap. When the business is worth 5 million, you still only need 10. You now only need 5 million insurance. When the business is worth 8, you need 2 million. And eventually, when the business is worth 10 million, you don't need insurance anymore. So that's the idea that we've got, is using your business as the foundation of your financial plan and putting the correct measures in place for you to be able to execute on death, disability, and your retirement. And if you can do that, then we end up with a need for, or a smaller need for insurance. If your business is part of your retirement plan, we need to understand, is your business able to work without you being there? Most important. If not, we need to put a strategy in place to make sure it is. If you've got business partners that are older than you, they are probably looking at you as their retirement plan. In other words, they retire, you do all the work. Is there a dividend policy in place for your company in order to maintain an income stream for that person retiring? If you're the older person and you're retiring, is there a dividend policy in place that you know you can exit the business and still be guaranteed an income throughout your retirement age? So those are the mechanics that we'd look at. So here's two of the plans that we're going to discuss today. The first one that we call business continuity or buy and sell. This is something, this is like the absolute groundwork, the base things that you have to have in place. You all, it's Friday, it's happy day today, but you're all going to die. Okay, we don't know when. Okay, after Charlie sneezed there, we might die earlier than we thought. Okay, but we're all going to die at some point. We don't like to think about it, but we know it's going to happen. So when we die, what happens to our business? What happens to our business partners that we leave behind? What happens to the value of the business? What happens to the employees that work in that business? They still want a salary at the end of the month. How does this thing unfold? Now, each business is unique, but each business needs to be addressed, because when death happens, the shares of your business go into your estate and your executor has to deal with it. He can't just say, we didn't plan for that, so don't worry about that one. Let's just look at something else. He has to deal with it. He's either got to leave the shares to somebody, so granny gets them, or your child, minor child inherits them, or they're going to get sold, or he's got to go and find a buyer. He's got a buyer already. Your business partner is going to buy. What do we do? The same happens with disability. If you get disabled, A lot of people go, if I'm disabled, I'll just work from home. Disability is not about geography. Disability is the inability to ever work, to hold your office. So if you are in a situation where you can't earn a living anymore, what happens to your business? If I'm going to keep the business, I need to make sure I've got a good team in place to still run it, and they're incentivized to run it. The second thing is I need a dividend policy, so I'm not going to get a dividend because I'm not an employee. I'm only a shareholder, and a shareholder only gets a share of profit. They don't get a salary. So many people, when they retire, go, don't worry, when I retire, I earn 100 grand a month now, I'll just keep earning my salary. And the other, when you go talk to the other partner, the partner says, not the sausage, you don't work, you don't get salary, you only get dividends. And then there's this work between dividends and salary that comes out, this argument around salary and dividends, to the point that the partner who's still working says, I'm doing all the work, I want double my salary. And at the end of the year, I want a massive bonus, which leaves very little profit in the business to be distributed. The other shareholder sitting waiting for his dividend, he's going, how hold the boat? If I double your salary, there's less dividend. And if you take a bonus, there's even less dividend. So I want more dividends. You're in the bush. Now you're heading for disaster, to a point where the other partner says, you know what, stuff you, come back to work then, otherwise I'm leaving and I'll go and operate on my own somewhere else. And he opens up a new shop. Then you never end up retiring. Contingent liability, another very important area, which is overlooked. When you're signing debts on behalf of a business, that's when you sign with the bank. So let's go through these. Continuity planning. What a continuity plan really consists of is a compulsion for your shares to be sold on your death to your surviving partner or a competitor or senior management. If you don't have partners, you could have senior management, but it's a succession plan. It says, when I die, these shares need to be made into cash so I can leave them as the foundation of my financial plan. And then I've just got to top up the difference with my personal policy. Who's going to buy? So that's the first thing we do, is identify who the buyer is. In common law, there's a thing called preemptive rights. You may have heard of it before. Okay, preemptive rights literally means Trevor and I are in business together, and we have preemptive rights. If he wants to dispose of his shares, he has to offer them to me first, and then I can refuse the share purchase or agree, and we can sit and negotiate a fair value. If I decline to buy the share, he then has the option to go and offer them to you. And if you want to buy the share, he's got to come back to me and say, right, I found a new buyer. Bob is the new buyer. He would like to pay 3 million rand for the shares. And then I've got the option to say, yes, let him buy, or no, I will buy. So that's what preemptive rights is. It's just a negotiation, but an offer. When it comes to buy and sell, we can't have offers where there's an option to buy and sell. It has to be compulsory. Because if it's just an option and the person says no, you don't have the foundation. The guy that says, I don't want to buy. Now all of a sudden you've got no foundation, which means now you need a bucket load of insurance just because there's an option and he might not exercise it. Happy with that? It also compels the buyer to buy. It says, I have to sell to him and he has to buy. There is no option anywhere. It gives the value, the valuation method, and the payment plan. Also very important. You can't leave the value to be determined. Because if the value is not determined, then how much are we starting with as the foundation and what am I short? Well, I won't know. So you need to know that up front. I'm selling for 3 million. There's the deal. I've now got to just make up the difference. How are you going to pay? Are you going to pay cash? How's the surviving partner going to pay? Remember, if you're buying and selling, it's the shareholders that are buying, and they're paying with after-tax money. The company is not buying it. Your partner is buying it, or your shareholder is buying it. After-tax money. Where does this money come from? If I've got to buy Richard out, let's say, for 10 million rand for his shares, I physically have to earn 16 million rand in earnings, pay 6 million rand across to SARS for tax, so that I can net 10 million to pay to Richard. How much of an incentive do you think it really is for me to have to buy Richard out for 16 million rand? I'm going to be working till I'm 65 just to get the money to pay him off. And by the time I've paid the final check, I'm going to be at retirement age going, all right, cool, now I want to sell. I mean, how counterintuitive is that? So it's very expensive. The cost of 10 million is 16 million. So the other option I've got is I can insure Richard. I can say, right, I'll pay a premium on Richard's life and the insurance company will pay the value. Now my acquisition cost isn't 16 million. It might be 5 grand a month or 10 grand a month or 1 grand a month, whatever the premium is. But I'm only paying a premium. And if I take the premium over Richard's life, it's insignificant. It's probably about 1% of the actual cost that I'd be paying. If that, less than 1% of the cost. It's the cheapest way to buy someone out. So some people say, oh, I don't like insurance policies. Well, I don't think anyone likes insurance policies, but hell, we love the benefit that it gives, which is 10 million rand tax-free for 1.5 grand a month premium. That's a bargain compared to earning 16 million rand. Okay, so that's why we use insurance, but you can raise money however you want. You don't have to use insurance. It's just the most cost effective. And then make sure that the premiums are paid by the partners, which we'll get onto just now. So when we do buy and sell continuity planning, there's a couple of things we've got to be careful of. The New Companies Act was introduced in 2015, I think it was 1 March 2015, and a memorandum of incorporation became a standard document that every company was given. Every company has memorandum of incorporation. And this really encompasses pretty much, let's call it the Companies Act, with a couple of nuances, but really designed for minority shareholder protection. But there's a lot of things in the MOR that have been omitted that are material for a business owner. As an example, in a memorandum of incorporation, a standard one, there are no preemptive rights. What this means is, if Richard and I are on business together and our shares are worth 10 million each, and I have a boxing match with Richard, I can sell my 10 million rand share to somebody else without offering it to Richard. Now just understand the ramifications here. Our business sells widgets, and there's another competitor business that sells a similar product to our widgets, and they would like to buy our business. I have a boxing match with Richard. I go to the widget people and I say, listen, my shares are worth 10. You want access to this company that's worth 20 bob. Give me 12, okay, and I'll walk. You've now got access to all the financials, all the customers, all the manufacturing, all the suppliers, all the staff, everything. You can literally rape and pillage a 20 million rand business for 12. Hey, bang on, let's do it. That's what can happen. If there's no preemptive rights, I could die today, and in my will, I've said, when I die, my kids get this policy and that policy, and the rest of my estate is going to go to the SPCA. Suddenly, the SPCA inherits my 50% share, and the SPCA becomes Richard's new business partner, or my hairdresser, which is not really that bad. So you've got to be very, very careful with an MOR, because most of you in this room have an MOR without preemptive rights. It mentions preemptive rights, but only if there's new shares that are issued. In other words, the company has got 100 shares and they issue further shares. Preemptive rights exist for those new shares, but not the ones that have already been issued. But what we do is we need to make sure the MOR is drafted correctly. The MOR takes precedence over any other of these other two agreements I'm showing you here. The next agreement we draw up is called a shareholder agreement. That is your personal confidential operation manual to your business. It deals with how a business is funded. If you've got a building and you own it in a company and you've got another shareholder and the building needs a new roof and it's $1 million for the roof and the shareholders need funding for the roof, who pays? What if one of the shareholders can't pay? What if they can only pay a portion of it? How do we deal with this? So that's one of the challenges that you need to have in your shareholders agreement. Voting rights. How many shareholders, how many votes? Appointment of directors. How many people need to be present to have a quorum where a shareholder meeting can take place? How many of the shareholders in that quorum have to vote in order for a material decision to take place? You could end up with 51% of your shareholders being present in the meeting and 75% of the present shareholders making a material decision that affects you as a 49% shareholder materially, to the extent where we're selling the building, or we're closing the company, or we're going into liquidation, or we're selling to a competitor. So you've got to document these things. The valuation method of your business. If a shareholder exits voluntarily, does it impact on the other shareholders? Does it impact on the value of the business? If the brainchild of the business resigns, the business could be defunct. Do you have to buy them out? And if so, at what price? Are you going to pay full market value for the IP that's left, or are you going to pay less because the IP is left? These are all discussed in the shareholder agreement. But if they conflict with your MOR, the MOR will take precedence. The shareholders agreement, being a private document, contains all the if, whats, and maybes. The MOR is a public document that just contains the really bare bones statutory stuff. That anyone, I can go get your MOR today if I want to. I can just go into Cipro, go and click on, get your company details, and I can read your MOR. But you definitely don't want your valuation method and how you deal with directors and shareholders and votes and quorums and stuff in the public domain, because I can take you out. There's information there that you don't want me to know about as a potential competitor. And then afterwards, you do the buy and sell agreement, which deals with the shares sale on death and disability. All separate documents. All right, so things to look out for. The one is estate duty. Depending on who owns the business, estate duty applies on every single policy on your life. If I've got a business partner, Trevor, and he's got 10 million Rand life cover on my life, and I've got 10 million on his life, and when I die, he's going to buy my shares, and when he dies, I'm going to buy his shares, we finance it with an insurance policy. Do you know that about 80% of people that we engage with that tell us we've got buy and sell, all they have is an insurance policy. They don't have the agreement. They just have the policy on each other's lives. So what that means is you don't have a buy and sell. A buy and sell is a shareholder's document. It's an agreement. The policy just finances it. So it's like buying a car, but you don't have the car, you've just got the HP. Then how dwarf would that be? Yet 80% of people have got it. And the reason why? Because your life insurance consultant gets paid commission to sell you a policy. He gets paid nothing to do your agreement. So all you've got is cash on each other's lives. So here's a horrible yet real example of what we have seen many, many times over. Trevor, you're going to die. Okay. Trevor dies today in a tragic accident. Just now, in about an hour and a half. He falls down the stairs. When he falls, the insurer is going to pay me 10 million Rand tax-free cash into my bank account. His wife and executive are going to get together after an hour of mourning. They're going to get together and say, listen, Gaz, I hear there's 10 bar somewhere. Can you pay it over? There's a special on it, Gateway. Okay. And I'm going to say, no. That 10 bar was my 10 million. If Trevor died, he knew how I would suffer. So he said, I can have 10 million on his life. So it's my money. She says, no, but that was for the shares for the company. And I said, no. If it was shares for the company, I'd have an agreement in place to buy them. There's no agreement. It's my cash. You, Mrs. Trevor, are going to be my new business partner. We're going to do this company together. Congratulations. Welcome to the team. She's going, but I don't know anything about widget making. And I go, don't worry, I've got it under control. You, my partner, I've got your back. Just like I had Trevor's back, I've got your back. What I've actually got is 10 million Rand starting capital to open up next door. Because why must I go and do all the work in the business and give her half the profit for free? She's not adding any value to me. I've got use 1 million Rand to open up next door, 9 million change to go buy the latest Lamborghini for sale, buy a beach cottage, a tiny one because Lamborghinis are expensive, it's not much left over, buy a little beach house. And I'm pinned and event. I've got her 10 million bucks and she's got 50% of a company that I'm going to whittle away to nothing and open up next door. That's what happens. If there was an agreement, I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd have to pay the money over and they'd have to sell me the share. Benefits on policies. Be very careful about what you put on the policy. It's got death and disability cover only, nothing else. No dread disease cover or impairment cover. If I lose my pinky finger, I'm not selling my flipping business to you. You know, I'll be sad I've lost my pinky, but I'm sure as hell not selling my business unless my business relies on me having to do this to earn an income. Okay. But if I don't need to do this, I'm not selling. Okay, so impairment cover can't work. You know how many people we see with impairment cover? The salesman says, I'm giving you the Rolls Royce of disability cover, which covers fingers, toes, arms, legs, everything. You can't have it there. It doesn't have a place. Cancer, another example. You can't have dread disease cover on a buy and sell. A guy can get cancer, can have a malignant mole on his bum that gets cut off. Okay, and he's healed. He's back to normal again. He's not selling his business. I know his partner might be a pain in the bum, but he's not selling his business because of that cancer, because you're not going to die from cancer necessarily. You can survive it. So you don't have dread disease cover. That's a personal benefit that you have on your policy. Be careful of disability definitions. There's many types of disability cover. We've got to make sure you're getting all choked up there. Sorry, my passion. Yeah. The disability definitions, be careful. They all differ. If I came in here in a wheelchair, you would probably say I am disabled because I'm paralyzed from the waist down and I'm in my wheelchair. But your disability policy might not agree with you. If you go to, I hate mentioning other insurance companies' names because it's not really professional, but we've done a little bit of research and discovered a couple of things. I'm not taking any liberties, by the way, please don't get me wrong, but this is old news. But if you look at some of the policies, they've got a disability benefit called occupational disability. So what it means is if you get disabled and you can't do your job, you would get paid. But it goes further. It says, if you can do a similar job or another job that you are fitted in terms of your training, status, knowledge, or ability, we won't pay. So I am the receptionist. I get paralyzed. I come in with a wheelchair. Can I still answer the telephone? Okay. Those are the kinds of things you've got to be careful of. If you can still do your job, they potentially won't pay. Now, that was a bad example because paralysis actually is a disability, but it's just an example. Arthritis, another one. If I get arthritis in this hand, can I still do what I'm doing now? I can. Okay, so I'm not disabled. But if I was a cardiac thoracic surgeon who performed surgery on your little valves on your heart, and I had arthritis in the hand that I was a surgeon with, could I do my job? No. So I would be disabled if I was a surgeon on a certain disability benefit. And that's called own occupational disability. So it's specific to your occupation. And that's the benefit you need in place. Covers your specific job, your role and function in that business. If you can't provide that anymore, your partner may as well have you dead. So we call disability a living dead. Okay. If you can't do your role in the business, you don't add value anymore. So sell your shares, get your fair value, and give your partner the ability to run the business. If they mess the business up, that's their own fault. They bought it, it's on their head. But you are out of the business risk and you're able to invest your money and live off it. Terminal illness, again, another one. If you are diagnosed to die within 12 months, the insurer will actually pay the policy out before you die. Did any of you know that? So if you've got life cover on your life right now, if the doctor says you've got 12 months left to live, you can actually get all your life cover paid to you right now before you're dead, including the buy and sell. So Trevor's been diagnosed with a terminal illness. He's got itchy footballs disease and it's chronic. Okay, it's spreading throughout his whole body. Not your lucky day. So Trevor's had a bad week and he's terminally ill. Okay. The worst disease is itchy footballs disease and you've lost both your hands because you can't scratch. So he's stuck, okay, and he's dying. The buy and sell policy pays me 10 million rand because he's terminally ill, but there's no compulsion for me to buy because the buy and sell says death and disability. And he's not dead yet, and he's not disabled. I think you want to be with itchy footballs disease in their hands, but he's not. So you've got to be careful of that. Preemptive rights we spoke about, repudiations of claims. Your partner lied or forgot about a material non-disclosure and the insurance doesn't pay out and you still got to do the buy and sell. So there's just a couple of things. And the last one, which I think is the most important, is if your partner or your shares are owned by a trust or another company, then the whole landscape changes even further. Because now we're dealing with a shareholder who can't die. If your partner is a company, the company can't die. The person that you're involved with can die, but not the company. What happens? Also, what we've seen a lot of people doing is their businesses are transforming into BEE structures, but they're not all the cleanest BEE structure. So they've got a BEE company that runs around, there's lots of them, and they say, we will be your BEE partner and we'll take 26% share in your company. And they do that through this company. What happens to you and your business when that shareholder, your BEE partner, and that other company dies? Because he might die and leave his shares in his company to his children. Suddenly you've inherited a new business partner. Because remember, the shares in your company are owned by that company. What's the trigger to say, hey, if you die, those shares must come back to me? You've got to plan for that. Okay. The Black Empowerment company as well. What's stopping the Black Empowerment partner selling that company? You've got to be careful of that. If you've got a holdco that owns your shares, we have these venture capital companies that come in and they lend money and they take shares. What happens to these venture capital people when they die? Because the funding might stop. What happens to your business? Those are all things you've got to take care of, and that's what we specialize in. Okay. So the results of no agreement: your spouse might drive the business down to nothing. No third party could buy due to hostility. The example is Trevor dies, his wife inherits the business. She doesn't want to. There's no buy and sell in place, but I've got the cash, I've got the money. She goes across to Bob and says, Bob, will you buy? Bob says, yes, I'll buy. Bob comes back and says, right, I'll pay 3 million. Trevor comes back to me, or the executor comes back to me and says, right, we've got a new partner, Bob, who wants to buy for 3 million. And I say, I'll offer you 2. And he says, no, we've got 3. We're going to take the offer. So cool, let me meet Bob. So Bob comes and I just act like an absolute poople at the meeting. And I put the fear of God into Bob. And Bob says, not a sausage am I coming near that. Oh, he's flipping loopy. I'm not giving you 3 cents for the business. And he runs off. Now they literally stuck with only me as the buyer. And there's no price on it. It's a negotiation, willing buyer, willing seller. And I just hold her to ransom. All right, but yeah, you can see there, it's not a pretty sight when you've got no buy and sell agreements in place and with policies only. The last thing I'm going to touch on, which is very short, is just sureties. And I just really want to highlight this. Guys, if you have to sign for business debt in your company, please be very, very careful. They make you sign a surety, which inevitably is a personal surety. So I'll give you an example. We've got a building owned by a company. It's worth 10 million bucks. There's a bond on the company property for 7 million. The banks say, we're signing surety for the company for 7 million. So if we default, they can take the building, sell it, and get their money back. They're happy with that. By the way, Gary, because you're a shareholder, you will sign personal surety. And I say, not a problem, and I sign it. What I'm actually telling the bank is that if business risk changes for any reason, be it just market sentiment, economic crisis like we had with COVID, the bank can recall that debt at any stage, any stage. I've got a mate of mine in the construction business whose OD was 6 million. During COVID, the bank wrote to him to say, listen, pal, that OD is going to be 4 million. We're taking 2 million of your facility away now. He said, but I can't. We're going to. And they did. They made his facility 4 million. And then they said to him, we're taking 150 grand a month off your facility every month as well. So it's eroding by 150 grand. He said, I need this facility now more than ever. And they said, well, it's too much risk for us. We're changing the terms and conditions. Read your agreement. So it happens. Okay. So by signing personal surety, what happens now is that my own after-tax stuff that I've earned in my estate is now up for grabs. Okay. To the point that when I die, there is nothing stopping the bank coming to my wife and kids, taking the family home and selling it on auction to raise money to settle the business debt that my business partner is going to benefit from, because he's going to take over that company. So we've got to buy and sell. When I die, he buys my shares in the property company. So he owns it 100%. But my personal estate has settled the bank debt in order for that surety to be released. Remember, when you die, your executor writes to the banks and says, hi guys, Gary's dead. Does he owe you any money? Are there any sureties? Because if there are, I need to know. He cannot wind up your estate until all of those taxes, liabilities, executors' fees, everything have been cleared. He can't do that, not allowed to do it. An executor stands as you. If he misappropriates money, he's in the dwang. He's responsible. So he's not going to let anything pass. So he writes to the bank, and the bank said, yes, he signed personal surety for 7 million for a property. And I go, cool, how do you pay? Now the executor has not got any money. I want to show you or ask you as a show of hands, how many of you have life cover? You can raise your hand on your life, okay? How many of you have a beneficiary on the life cover? Okay, that means that that person's getting the money. How much of your policies is going into your estate? Think of it. How much money is the estate getting? when you die. Because remember, the executor needs to pay off the bond. Where's the money coming from? You've only got assets. Your family members and stuff have been beneficiaries of the cash. So where's the cash for him? All the executor's got is a whole lot of assets and a whole lot of debt. So how does he make this thing meet up? He sells assets. It's that simple. Goes to auction, sells them. We go shopping at auctions because there's bargains, one of which will be your family home maybe. But that's what happens. So you've got to have enough cash in order to sustain the business and to sustain your estate. So we advise, have a policy in place that your estate gets to settle debt, and have a policy in place for your business to cover its business debt. If they waive the excussion clause, which is the fourth point down, there is nothing stopping the bank going to your estate to get the money, and there's nothing that your estate has got to go and recover the money back from the business. You have not got a cross surety with your business or with your business partner. There's the document the bank made you sign, but you never got your business partner to sign a document with you saying, if they take the money from me, my estate is coming after you. So you're at total risk if you sign personal surety. And a lot of people don't understand that. They just think it's just a signature. It's not. You're physically giving up your stuff. Some people say, I don't want to cover the liability. Don't worry about it. The rental covers the bond payments. If I die, it'll all be fine. We don't like arguing with clients. So we're in a conflict situation now because we know what will happen. The client's got a different perception. So the way to mitigate the argument is simple. Who's your bank manager? Bank manager's name's Fred. Cool, let's phone Fred. Fred, hi, it's Gary from Quattro. I'm here with Trevor. I just want to check. He signed personal surety for a 7 million rand bond. I just want to find out from you, if he dies today, are you going to come and take the money from his estate? Fred says, nah, man, Trevor and I are good mates. Our kids go to school together at Harbury. They play soccer and cricket and rugby, and we bra together. He's a lekker. I said, fantastic. That's awesome, Fred. Do me a favor. Can you please just send that to me in writing from the bank? And then all of a sudden, Fred gets quiet. Oh, you know, we can't really do it in writing. You know, the guys up in credit in Pretoria, they're quite sticky with this kind of thing. Guys, if you've signed a personal surety, it means the bank can come. Unless you've got something that says different, the bank are going to come. Okay, so don't leave a hole. If you leave the hole, your estate will settle these debts on your behalf, on the company's behalf, for the benefit of your other shareholders. You won't have any money in your estate to settle its liabilities. Your assets will be sold on auction, and your family are going to be left destitute. And this is the problem. Most people are blissfully unaware of how sureties impact their lives in their business and in their personal lives. So I urge you to please, please, please just watch that.
Great, thanks, Gary, and congrats on the prize. So for those of you that haven't yet sat with the guys at Quattro, you really should, especially with partnerships. As you can see, there's so many. Well, I say the only partnership that doesn't, the only ship that doesn't float is a partnership. The partnerships can be amazing when they work well, but very often it's when things get bad. That's when the kind of cracks show. But I'll spend about 15, 20 minutes with you, and then obviously everybody hang around and get to know each other a little bit. I know some have to dash and some are here for the morning. But my name is Trevor Clark. I've met some of you, others I haven't yet, but I'm with a company called Action Coach Business Coaching. I wish I could say it was my company. It's actually a business that's, we're a global business. We're in over 80 countries around the world now. We're actually in one of the top 50 franchises worldwide. So really proud to be part of this business. It's a company that's been going for, well over 27 years now. A company still privately owned by a guy called Brad Sugars, who founded the company in Australia 27 years ago. And basically, we've got close to 1,000 offices like mine around the world. So I work with business owners here in KwaZulu-Natal, but also internationally as well, helping people to grow better businesses. And that's actually probably, I think I'm one of the luckiest people in the world. I've got the coolest job. I help business owners make money. We've got a great relationship with the Quattro guys. We refer clients on because too often people haven't got the foundations right inside the business. Because we can look at all sorts of things in growing a business. It might be profitability, it might be growing better teams, it might be getting your systems better. But as you can see, for some of the scenarios that Gary has laid out here, you can build an amazing business and it can all come tumbling down at the end. And people have a lifetime of work, or 10, 20, 30 years, trying to build a business, trying to build a legacy, trying to build something to leave to their families. And because we don't have the core foundations right in the documentation, it can all be a lot of wasted effort. So our definition of a successful business, because there's lots of definitions of business, right? What is a business? But we like to talk about a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. And just out of interest, has anybody here got one of those? In other words, a commercial business, a real business, you're taking really good care of your customers, and if you do the customer satisfaction survey, they'll all give you 10 out of 10, and they're likely to recommend you on to other people.
Maybe 8.
Maybe 8, okay, good. That's a commercial business. You know, you're serving, there's a real need, and you're taking care of that. A profitable business, I hope we are making money. That's the first rule of business, is we've got to be making profit, because with profit, we can do so many other things. The second sort of litmus test. A business that works. In other words, every single customer that engages you gets a consistent experience. It's not on Mondays they get this experience, on Wednesdays it all falls apart. We've got the systems, the procedures, the checklists, the ops manuals, whatever it might be, that we can get a consistent experience. So we've documented and that business. But then importantly, we're profitable, we've got it systematized. That business can then work without you. In other words, you've now hired an amazing team that can run that business for you, so that if you do get sick and can't go to work for a couple of days, the wheels don't fall off. If you do have the opportunity to go overseas on holiday for a month, you know that you can do that with confidence, knowing that the business can run without you. Importantly, and so often we work with entrepreneurs, we work with business owners, and a lot of our clients own multiple businesses or want to own multiple businesses. Now, if your first business isn't profitable and your first business isn't working without you, how are you going to go and build business number 2, business number 3, and business number 4? And that's where we see a lot of businesses fall down, is because we've got 3 or 4 different businesses, and businesses are like human beings, right? They go from birth to their babies, and their children, and they become teenagers, and only late teenagers, right, when they kind of start earning their own living, and eventually they move out of the house and they become self-sufficient. Then that business can actually start contributing towards household income. But if you've got 3 or 4 businesses that are still toddlers and all needing a lot of time, money, and attention, that's when a lot of business owners burn out. So we work on a business model that we train business owners on, and basically a step-by-step approach to building a business. And I'll just quickly skim through it, because there's a couple of things that we wanted to share with you in particular just this morning. You can imagine we could workshop this for kind of 2 days, the journey of building a business. And a lot of you have been through this journey already, maybe on one business, maybe on multiple businesses. But the idea behind it is, if you start building a business, and this is where we coach businesses, is we start at mastery. We start on the foundations, the goals, make sure the goals and plans are in place, looking at time management, looking at the financials and getting the financial basics. So those are really critical things to get in place first. Then we've got to look at, we use the word niche, which is another word for marketing and sales. Do we have a sales machine that is bringing in customers and also taking good care of the customers, that they never leave, that those customers bring on referrals and recommend us to other businesses? So that's how we get our profits up. Then once we're stable and we've got profitability in check, we want to start looking at the systems and making sure there's clear organization charts, job descriptions, checklists, all those lovely things, systematizing the business. And only then, that's when we should look at growing the team and hiring more people. Because how often do you find this in a business? We need 1 or 2 new staff. What do? We first go to team, we hire the people arrive for work, and they say, boss, where's my job description? Which is actually a systems thing. The boss says, oh, actually, I've been too busy to write it. Sit here today, I'm going to Pietermaritzburg on business. I'll sort out a job description for you tomorrow or next week. And does that person ever get a job description? We've all been in that position, right? We've taken a job, and 2, 3 years later, the boss still hasn't given us a job description. We're trying to do the best we can do. And the boss is pissed off because the person isn't doing a great job, and the employee is going, but show me what to do. I'll do it. Give me that structure. So you see the sequence of building a business is so important. First, we get the systems in place. Then we bring in the team to run. And obviously, it's not a perfect world. We don't grow in a linear fashion. So, and I'm aware of that. I've been coaching now for 11 years as a full-time. That's what I do. I help people through these steps. And most of us were in existing businesses, so we can't pause the business. So we keep trading. But what we do is we go back a couple of steps and we reinforce. And even if we've got the existing team, it's not too late. Now let's work on the job descriptions. Now let's work on the system. So and there's a lovely definition of entrepreneurs, right? Where most people would kind of build an airplane first, test it and launch it. But most of us, have we ever done that where we've started a business and we've got a war chest of 10 million rand and we engineer the business and then only we launch? Has anybody had that luxury? No, right? We build a business on a shoestring. We make profits and we spend them and we're building the business as we go. And that's literally what we do, is running repairs. Most entrepreneurs do this. We jump off a mountain and we kind of build the aeroplane on our way down, and hopefully the wings get strapped on before we hit the ground. And we'll help you, if anybody's in that space of building a business, we'll help you get those wings bolted on a lot faster and in good time. But synergy, if you get this stuff right, synergy is an amazing point to get to. Because synergy is that point where a business works without you. It's profitable, you've got a good team in place, they're following a system, and when you wake up in the morning and you think, I'm not sure if I want to go to work today, the surf is looking good, or it's raining and I want to stay in bed and watch Netflix, you can send a WhatsApp to the office and say, I'm not coming in today, guys, and you can do it guilt-free. Knowing that the guys have a system in place and they know what to do, and you've hired the right team. Out of interest, has anybody here ever done any training or done a course in recruitment? 1, 2, brilliant. Oh, of course, look, commission of you here definitely, because you're in this space all the time. But most business owners don't. We haven't been trained, so when we hire, we have an empty seat, we hire the first available person. And it might be the right person, it might not be. So we do a lot of work in that space to help you hire a lot better. But all I want to do today is I just want to go right down to basics. When Gary and I were planning out the breakfast, the plan was actually to be talking around team and recruitment. But what Gary's seeing in the team is seeing a lot out there. There's a lot of people battling a little bit in mindset. And the space between 2 years, would you agree with that? We've been through a pretty tough, the last year has been pretty tough. So a lot of people are kind of battling just in terms of the foundation stuff and just getting our mindset right. And I did want to talk about it as well, because we're seeing it out there as well. We're seeing people that have had a really tough year and are battling to kind of stretch. But we're even seeing the guys that have had amazing years, because we've got clients that have had record years, many of them. And some of you might be in the room, or you know people out there that are doing amazingly well. Even the people doing really well have had to fight for every single inch, because the last year has been business unusual. So just want to talk a few little ideas that you can take away with us, just understanding the power of the mind. So just out of interest, I'd like to, some of you might be boxing fans, some of you might not be. But even if you don't know boxing, I'd like you to participate. So retired fighters in recent times, I've just picked a random 4: Rocky Marciano, George Foreman, Muhammad Ali, and Joe Louis. Which of these would be the greatest fighter in recent times if you had to vote? So just show of hands, who thinks Rocky Marciano is the greatest fighter in recent times? No votes for Rocky Marciano? And you all have to vote, right? You can't not vote. That's George Foreman. Who thinks George Foreman? 1, 2, 3. Great. Muhammad Ali. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And Joe Louis. 1 vote for Joe. So overall, would you agree? Overwhelming majority voted for Muhammad Ali. So I'll show you that I've got a bit of a power. I knew you would vote for Muhammad Ali, right? This is the power of mindset. I can actually read minds. So we tested this exercise with a number of different rooms recently, and always when we ask that question, by landslide, like we saw now, vote for Muhammad Ali, right? But if you look at the stats, obviously it's very contentious. Everybody, especially in sports, right? Some people say the Sharks are better, other people will say the Cheetahs are better. But ESPN doesn't even put him in the top 10 hardest hitters. George Foreman had 76 career wins. They had 20 more wins than Ali, 68 knockouts, and Muhammad Ali only posted 37 knockouts. 56 wins, Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis had 66 wins. And that was out of 69 fights. He had 52 knockouts. And Rocky Marciano, as you can see, was the only heavyweight champion with a perfect record. Now 49 wins out of 49 fights, 43 knockouts. Often I've asked this question a while ago, people say, what about Mike Tyson? But I saw at that stage he was making his comeback. But Tyson, as you can see, 50 wins out of 58 fights. But isn't that interesting? Why do we all vote for Muhammad? Why do we say Muhammad Ali is the greatest fighter of all time? Media. Names out there, the media, yeah? What else?
He was a showman. Good showman.
He was a showman, right?
Correct.
There's a lovely quote. Now you think about it, and you see I use the word the greatest. Who is the greatest fighter? Who used that word even more? Muhammad Ali. That's how you talk to him. So that's how he described himself. I am the greatest. I'm the greatest. And the press picked up on it, yes, and helped that. But he would talk about this all the time. And this quote, as you can see, the fight is not won in the ring. The fight is won before you get in the ring. The fight is won by what you tell yourself, by the information you feed yourself, the information you feed your team. Think about most sports teams. How much time do they spend actually playing on the field, and how much time do they spend training and preparing for that game? And what are those things that they're telling themselves? So the idea behind it is we call it the formula for success in life. First, you want to know what you want to have. If you haven't set your goals, that's the first step. What does success look like to me? And we need to document that. On top of that, we then need to have a plan to say, well, what do I need to do to have that stuff? So we need an action plan, a business plan, a strategic plan, a marketing plan, whatever it might be. But have you also considered who do I need to be to do those things to have that stuff? And a lot of people forget that. What skill set do I need? What books do I need to read? What courses do I need to do? What kind of education? What energy level? What fitness level? What kind of a leader do I need to be? What kind of a mindset do I need to have? And very often that's where people fall down there. They're missing that side of things, working on themselves, on the core first. And that's easier said than done, because human beings are complicated. That's why I'm a business coach and not a life coach. Often people, I'm actually certified as a life coach, but I don't do a lot of work in that space because I believe businesses are a lot easier to fix than people. People are kind of tricky, right? And you'll see here why. You know, those of you that manage teams, those of you dealing with customers, you've heard of the iceberg theory. When you're dealing with a human being, it's just like looking at an iceberg. You only see that little bit that's above the surface. There's so much more beneath the surface. And as you can see, what drives our behavior is what's beneath the surface. So you meet somebody else, somebody you might meet me for the first time, or maybe a salesperson comes to your office. You judge that person purely on their behavior. Did they arrive at the meeting on time? What did they wear for the meeting? Did they polish their shoes? What car did they drive in? All that kind of stuff. And we make assumptions about each other instantly, don't we? Based on what we can witness above. But we've got no idea what drove that behavior. All right? And our behavior is determined by our skills. So if you're not getting the results you want, we need to upskill ourselves. Very often our behavior is determined by our values, because different human beings have different value sets. We have different beliefs. Beliefs around money, beliefs around our customers, beliefs about ourselves, beliefs about our products and services. We all have an identity. What are those things we say about ourselves? And obviously the environment that we're in regularly dictates the shape of our iceberg. So, you know, if you take a block of ice, you put it in warmer water, what happens? It gets more round, it melts, it gets softer, right? You put that ice in colder water, it gets more brittle and sharp. So it's the same with all of us. The people we hang around with at home, the people we sit with at the office, and think about, as a leader of a business, what is the environment or the culture that you are setting? Is it as an environment of performance and cleanliness and efficiency and professionalism, or is it whatever, let's see what goes? That gets driven top down. And that's what's going to drive behavior for ourselves as well as our teams. So a key part that I wanted to drill down just briefly is an area of when we talk about what we believe, because remember, beliefs, are beliefs true or beliefs false? Any belief is true to the believer, right? If I believe that there's more money in Cape Town than there is in Durban, is that true or not? If I say it that way, that belief is true to me, because I've heard something, been told something, told myself something, heard an article on the radio. We all have a belief about something. And you know what it's like? The more somebody tries to tell you your belief is wrong, what do? We dig our heels in and we reinforce that belief even further. If you watch the American elections, that's a great example of that. So it's key to understand that there's a key part inside our brains called the reticular activating system. Has anybody heard of the RAS before? The RAS, reticular activating system. So it's like, has anybody got lost before? You drive somewhere and you can't find the destination. And you're driving around, eventually you stop, you get out, you turn on the GPS in your car. If your car doesn't have a GPS, you get out your phone, you go into Google Maps, and you realize you've driven past the place 4 times. Or you've gone to the wrong branch or the wrong direction. So before you got in the car, you turned on your GPS or your phone and checked first, how much time and effort would you have saved? And it's the same thing with ourselves. We have this GPS built in. All of our brains have one. But are we taking a minute before, like while the car's idling in the garage, before we get on the road to actually program it? And basically that's what the RAS is. The RAS is the part of the brain that filters out information. It's the part of the brain that decides what gets to your conscious level and what gets filtered out. And how do we program it? We're programming it by having clear goals and being conscious of where are we wanting to go. Because the brain does not know what's real and what's not. The brain only knows what you feed it. And basically the rest is a tiny little area here that filters everything that gets allowed into our consciousness and doesn't. So, you know, people like this. They say, I'm always late. Those people, are they always late? Yes, they are, right? Because they reinforce it. There are people that say, I'm not very confident. Are they confident or they're not confident? They're not confident, right? Because they're reinforcing that they're programming their RAS to look for evidence that proves their lack of confidence, and all it does is get worse and worse and worse. I meet people all the time, oh, I can't do marketing, Trevor. Oh, Trevor, I'm rubbish at managing cash flow. And they keep telling themselves that, what happens? You never look at your cash flow. Now you've got a strategic risk inside your business because you've been telling yourself that you can't do this kind of stuff. So we've got to be careful on what we focus on, because what we focus on is what becomes real inside our lives. So I wanted to share that, just watch out for this kind of stuff, because I'm seeing so often right now is, and you might be hearing it with your teams, you might be hearing it with your customers in the market, if you go, oh yeah, nobody's wanting to have meetings nowadays, or nobody's spending money in my industry right now, or nobody's doing, I imagine you're all getting similar stuff from your teams, from your, so watch out for that, because we hear somebody say, we hear somebody else say it, we go, oh, does not even pick up the phone, especially those of you with a sales-driven organization. Oh, everybody's getting, now what's it now? We've come out of COVID, now we're going into March, April, which is, that's also graveyard in business, because now people want to pack the cooler boxes and get away for long weekends. Oh, nobody wants meetings now, they're preparing for Easter holidays. We keep telling ourselves that, and we're allowing our team to keep encouraging that kind of belief, what's going to happen to our sales and the likelihood of us hitting our targets. So you see, a lot of things we can see results on a certain area, but it's coming right down to simple things like mindset that we're not focusing on. So do you want beliefs like that, or should we be fostering this kind of language with ourselves as well as with our team? I would say I was the greatest long before I even became the greatest. If we don't see ourselves doing it, we're never going to get there. So just really take some time and think, watch out for this stuff with yourself. What is the language you're using? And just to wrap us up, I'd like to share a quick video with you. Does it play automatically? There we go.
Your belief is your greatest power. Use it, change it, develop it, harness it. What you believe about yourself determines who you become. Do you believe you'll soon succeed and achieve? Do you believe you can add massive value to yourself, to your business, to your marketplace? Do you believe in win-win? Do you believe you will fulfill your potential? Do you believe in yourself, your actions, your decisions, your behaviors? What you believe determines what you become. You're in charge of what you believe. Your beliefs can break you or they can make you. Your beliefs determine the rest of your life. Your beliefs today will affect tomorrow, your income, your success, your health, what you do, and what you attract. You have to expect things of yourself before you can do them. Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Good or bad, your beliefs will shape your future. Be strong and be shaped by a vision of your future self. See it, feel it, and believe it. You're in charge of the greatest force you have, your beliefs. You get to choose them. You get to empower them. You get to feel them. When is now your time? It's much easier to stay average and have average beliefs, much easier than stepping out of your comfort zone. It's much easier to stay average than it is to push through your challenges. It's easier to stay average than face the pain of discipline, face the pain of going for it, face the pain of courage. Yet, it's much harder to live with being average than pushing forwards to becoming the very best you can be. To wake up each day knowing today will be average at best is much more exhausting. So choose to forge forward. Be brilliant. Become a serial achiever. Become a serial winner. It takes energy either way. Choose to become the winner. If you want to have an incredible, successful life, then you need to believe that success is your only option. Jim Rohn, if you want to upgrade your life, then upgrade your mindset first. Napoleon Hill, if you have a mindset that's always looking for success and improvement, you'll find it. Brad Sugars, when you find meaning in your work, you'll find success in your work. Strong beliefs attract success. Weak beliefs guarantee failure. Strong beliefs will make you find a way to succeed. Why? Because beliefs are your greatest power. Your time is limited. Your beliefs are endlessly possible. Empower them. Be strong. You're in charge. Take this opportunity, grab it with both hands, and go for it. You choose what you think, you choose what you do, you choose how you behave, you choose who you become. Mind shifts happen when you begin believing. You get what you tolerate, and what you tolerate is dependent on what you believe. Set some new standards, set some new expectations, empower some strong beliefs, respect yourself, and use your beliefs to turn thought into actual success. Stand out, stand proud, stand up, stand firm, be strong, be cool, be loyal, be kind, think big, and believe. Do it and do it again. Believe it and do it again. Believe it and do it again and again and again. And you'll become the best version of you.
We know this stuff, right? But do we repeat it? Do we repeat it? Like with our kids, do we tell them to brush their teeth once and they brush their teeth forever? We're going to remind regularly as we go forward. So I hope there's some ideas that you can use, but just, obviously we need to think of that iceberg. If we really are wanting to achieve more and get our team to work on more, what are the areas that we can work on as a team? Is it around the skills? Are we doing regular training? The beliefs, the values? Do we have a company value set? Have we defined our company culture? Because that's a great way of galvanizing a team around this. And what is our identity of us as an organization? So thanks for the time this morning. Good to get to know you guys. I'm a business coach. Business coaching is just like sports coaching, right? You see what top sports people surround themselves with a team of coaches. It's exactly the same with top business owners, entrepreneurs out there. By having somebody to give you a push and work in these different areas, you're going to achieve a hell of a lot more. So I love meeting with business owners and learning more about what you do. We do have an offer of a free consultation. So if you ever think you might need some help in some of these areas, we'll sit down and do an assessment of your business, and let's connect and learn more about one another. My cards are outside if you do want to connect. But those are my details. And Gary, I'll hand back over to you to wrap up.
Yeah, thanks, Trev. Guys, thanks for listening. Thank you so much for coming through today. I hope you learned a little something out of it. If you'd like to engage, you're most welcome to chat to the guys around the room. But otherwise, I look forward to maybe seeing you on another adventure and another presentation.